Hey guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in to what is going to be a review of some new lip products that you just can't afford to sleep on. They're that good. Spoiler alert, this is going to be a glowing review of the new Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit High Shine lipsticks. They have a matte version of these. It's been out for a few years now at this point. And so they now have a high shine version of that formula in 2019 and they sent me every single shade in the collection. They actually sent me quite a few of their new launches for 2019, so I'm going to be doing a separate video of that altogether. But you know me, I love a good lip swatch, so I thought I would do a dedicated video to these, especially once I had had some time to try the formula. Guys, it's so good. If this is the kind of formula and look you're after, it's definitely one you have to pick up, considering these are like $4.99 for a lipstick. So basically, this is supposed to be a collection that has the same pigment intensity and opacity of the matte version of the formula, but offers a high shine glossy texture. And they say these have lots of good ingredients in them, you know, like vitamin E, lots of good oils that are gonna help your lips feel moisturized, nourished, and comfortable, most importantly. Once they're all worn off, your lips aren't gonna feel like super dry and just dehydrated. But so often when brands do this, they try and make a super opaque and pigmented gloss. It can be kind of a creasy mess. I know we all have had an experience like this where you put it on and it looks phenomenal, but then slowly or sometimes even quickly throughout the day, you will find that the pigment is separating from the medium and it's falling in your fine lines, bleeding everywhere. Like, it just is not a good formula. And I honestly really didn't know what to expect from this before I tried it. But I'm pretty pleased to say that from the lightest color in this collection to the darkest, I have not experienced any streakiness, any bleeding, any separation between the pigment and the base, any clinging or falling into fine lines. Like, it is such a beautiful formula and gives your lips such a really nice, healthy looking gloss to the lips without feeling goopy or sticky. You don't get the strings in between your lips as you talk. And it really does make your lips keep them feeling hydrated and just comfortable throughout the day. Obviously, it is not long wearing. If you want a long wearing formula, you should probably opt for the matte version of this, which I found kind of hit or miss. Some of the lighter shades in that collection got kind of streaky on me, although I did really like some of the reds in the collection. But overall, that's the formula you're gonna wanna reach for if you want something that is totally budge proof. That said, I feel like the pendulum has been swinging back away from liquid lipsticks. Like, people are kind of sick of their lips feeling dry and cakey throughout the day, reapplying and encountering patchy. I feel like a lot of people are going back to traditional lipsticks and glosses and not really caring that they need to reapply, or at least thinking that it's worth it to reapply if it's super easy to do and it's like a very no fuss kind of formula. So if you find that to be true for yourself, I think you're really gonna like this formula. And yeah, that's pretty much the review. I kind of have nothing critical to say about these. So let's go ahead and jump into the swatches. First, starting with the color, going lightest to deepest. This is the color that I thought would be the most troubling because it's super light, and so often with lighter shades, they're not very opaque. You get that streakiness, you get that separation, and I've just had so many light, milky kind of shades that just fall into my, they look awful. Not at all with this. I was shocked when I first put this on, which, by the way, the shade finally is called Caught You Bare Naked. It's a super light nude with a cool undertone, and honestly it's probably not a shade that I would wear on its own, but as I have been experimenting with these, wearing them solo, I then started mixing them up, and what I found that I like with these lighter shades that I don't personally think flatter me when worn alone, I love wearing them as an accent color in the center of the lip. So I'm actually doing that today, before I forget to mention it, with two colors in here. I first applied the shade Devil's Advocate all over my lips, and then I went in with the shade Send Nudes just in the center of my lips. So not only are these great when worn alone, but they mix together really nicely without getting any sort of weird texture difference or, you know, line of demarcation. They just blend and play really nicely together. All right, back to our swatches. The next shade up is called Chic Got Real, and this is a pretty pale pink, kind of on the mauve leaning side. We have some brighter pinks coming up, so by comparison, I do think this has more of a purple or a rosy sort of dusty mauve undertone to it. But overall, really pretty shade. Next up is the shade Cedar Later, which kind of caught me off guard because I guess when I think of cedar, I think green or tree. But I suppose this could be the color of the bark because it is a mid-tone nude with slight red undertones. Really, really pretty. This is definitely one of my go-tos because on certain days it's kind of a your lips but better sort of shade. It takes my lips natural shade and just amps it up a tiny little bit, which also makes it really easy to reapply on the go. Like you can just super simply swipe it on your lips. You kind of don't have to worry about staying in the lines and you're good. Moving on to the shade Send Nudes, which I might have done these out of order because this is actually lighter than Cedar Later. In fact, yes, I sure did. They should go in the reverse order in terms of shade numbering, but Send Nudes is a lighter nude than Cedar Later, and I would say it has a pretty strong neutral undertone, whereas Cedar Later was warmer leaning, but I find that neutral undertone keeps it nice and wearable so that if you have trouble finding like ultra pale nudes, it's not so cool that it's going to make you look a little sickly or like death, and it's not so warm that it's going to make you look like unnatural or like you just put self-tanner on your lips. Moving on to another pink shade. This one is called Flirt Alert, and it's still a relatively light or pale pink, but it's more of a true pale bubblegum kind of pink. So it's not really mauve-y, but it's also not like a hot purple fuchsia. It's just like a pale bubblegum pink, which actually I do want to compare to the next shade up, which is called Taffy Tantrum, because it is more of a true like Barbie bubblegum pink. It's quite a bit brighter, but still true to that classic pink and not something that is leaning either way in terms of being super bright or super muted. Next up is the shade Peach Stole My Look, and it is a soft peach. And I guess I do have one criticism of this collection, and that is that there are not more peachy orangey shades. This is the only one in this collection, and it's really on the light to fair side, so I would have liked to see something a little bit bolder, you know, maybe more coral leaning, maybe a hot orange. There's a fiery red that you'll see here coming up soon, and so I really would have loved to see this tone kind of, you know, amped up a little bit so you had a broader spectrum, because it is really beautiful. Moving on to Mauve Over Girl, which interestingly enough, I mean, it is a little mauve, but I find it more greigey with dusty mauve undertones. It's a mid-tone greige, so it's gonna be one that I personally find, like if you struggle to wear or incorporate greige into your look, you're just not quite sure or you're not comfortable with how to wear it, I think this is a good gateway greige because it's not so bold and in your face like deep brown greige that it might feel like a stark departure from what you're used to wearing. It's just a little, like a soft little greige, and it has those mauve undertones to just keep you feeling grounded in more natural lip colors, but you're still playing with that gray undertone. Next up is that hot red that I talked about earlier. This is called Bad Girls Club, and it is a pretty solid blue-based red. Very, very pigmented, a classic color that I think should be in this collection, but again, just would have liked to see more done, like maybe one with an orange undertone, or maybe one that's a little bit more bricky, because as you'll see, as we get into the deeper shades here, they get increasingly more purple. Starting first with the shade Berry Down Low, which is a pretty solid fuchsia shade. One that I really like, and is another one that can kind of get streaky depending on the formula, but again, not at all with this. And something else I want to mention, because I feel like this is something else that can happen with this kind of shade, is staining to the lips, but I did not experience staining with any shades in this collection. So it is really nice that once you take it off, it's totally off. You're not going to have to worry about any patchiness or blotchiness on the lips. Like, it is gone for good, or even uneven wear as it comes off the lips. Like, it wears off pretty uniformly, and once it's gone, it's gone. Moving on to those deeper purple shades, we have up next Wine is the Answer, which I pretty firmly believe in as well. And as the name suggests, is a really pretty grapey kind of purple, and especially compared to the next shade up, which is Devil's Advocate, it is quite a bit more purple, whereas Devil's Advocate has some more brown tones. I would say Devil's Advocate is more of a burgundy as opposed to Wine is the Answer, which is more of a true purple grapey berry. And then last up is the shade Late Night Done Right, and this is another one that I thought could be kind of hit or miss, because kind of like the lighter shades, if you have a super, super deep pigmented but still glossy shade, you can really tell when it breaks apart on your lips. Like, streaks are just wildly apparent if they're going to be there, and I didn't experience that at all with this shade. I really love how this looks and wears on the lips, and the shade itself is just gorgeous. It is a step up in terms of purples. It's the deepest strong purple in this collection. And it, kind of like Devil's Advocate, has those brown leaning undertones, which I also really love, as opposed to the berry of the wine is always the answer. So that's it. That's my review and swatches of the whole Liquid Catsuit High Shine lipstick collection from Wet n Wild. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. Have you picked any up? Are you now compelled to? Or are you still on the matte liquid lip train? I would love to hear all that from you. Let me know down in the comments below. Besides that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.